Hi everybody, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing my January wrap-up. I strayed from my TBR. Just a smidge, just a tiny little smidge. But there was a reason for that. Mostly, I ended up having to spend a lot of time on the road, going back and forth to doctor's appointments. And so that meant that I was relying on Audible more heavily than normal. And I wasn't going to pay to buy books in audio form that I already had in physical form. It just didn't make sense to me. So I ended up reading 4 audiobooks on there and then 4 physical books. And the physical books were all for vlogs. Therefore, I'm going to be doing this wrap up a little bit differently. I'm just going to split it into the books that I did for audio and the books that I read physically. I'll start with the audiobooks. The first book that I read this month was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I have heard a lot of stuff about this book last year, and I was definitely intrigued. If you don't know, I'm Glad My Mom Died is a nonfiction biography book of Jeanette McCurdy documenting her life as a child star. She was on the hit show iCarly, and the abuse that she experienced at the hands of her overbearing mother who pushed her into the industry, as well as things that were going on behind the scenes in the industry itself. It was a big eye-opener. I really enjoyed listening to this book. It wasn't, I never watched iCarly, so I don't have a lot of experience or nostalgia with the show or with Jeanette herself, but I have often felt that the industry does child stars dirty for a long time. As I've gotten older and I've seen more stuff and more people have come out and talked about their experiences, I have really come to realize that they really did get the bad end of the stick, and Jeanette falls into that category. I felt so hard for her whenever I was listening to this book. Particularly at the hands of her mother. Your mom is supposed to protect you, and it's not only does she push her into the industry, but she pushes her into an eating disorder so that she stays small. And it's so messed up, the things that this girl went through. I'm so glad that she was able to break free from that and that she's doing well, because unfortunately so many of them don't. When it comes to star ratings, I find it kind of difficult to rate nonfiction, because I don't want to put a rating on somebody's personal experience. However, I will give this book a 5, mainly because if it were not nonfiction and it was just a book on its own that was being written, it was written very, very well. I felt for the characters, Jeanette, and it's I really felt like I was in her head, and I felt like I was experiencing the things that she was experiencing, and that's the things that I look for in characters in books. So I hope that she writes more, because she did this in a way that was very, very talented. It did not feel like a generic memoir. The next book that I read this month was Hollow City by Ransom Riggs, and this is the second book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. I feel like I read this one a little too late after reading the original, and that is a big problem for me, and that is a habit that I am trying to break. So I don't fault Ransom Riggs, and I don't fault the series. I completely believe that it was my problem. I have been having a tendency to start series and then not read the next installment for several months or even a year, and then I don't know what's going on, and then I get upset, and that's kind of the experience that I had with Hollow City. It's the way that it started off, everybody's in the ocean. I don't have any clue how they ended up in the ocean. I don't remember. And I'm sure that's in the first book. But I read the first book, I think 2 years ago. It's been a long time. So I have got to stop doing that. I liked the descriptions in the book, the characters and everything were cool, but I was lost as to what was actually going on. And I think that's because I barely remember the first book. So I need to go back and reread that and maybe read Hollow City again and see if my experience is a little bit different. The next two books that I read on Audible were from the same author who I've never heard of before, and that is Annie Taylor. And I was so psyched to find these books. Both of these books take place in Australia, which I haven't read very many Australian-based books, so that was fun. The first book that I read by Annie Taylor was A Stranger in the Woods, and this was so interesting to me. We are following kind of two stories. We are following Isla, who is a photographer who has a little bit of a memory problem, and she has been hired to shoot pictures of this estate for this family. And the family had a daughter who went missing 2 years ago, so it's like the stories are kind of connected in that way. And so we'll have flashbacks of the daughter and what was happening with her and Isla and her experiences on this island, and she kind of gets sucked into the story with the daughter and is trying to figure it out. I kind of liked that. I kind of liked this photographer for hire turned PI. It was something that you wouldn't normally expect, but it worked really, really well, and it was a lot of fun, and it was interesting. I loved the way that Annie Taylor did her atmosphere in this book. The twist just kept on coming. There was twist after twist after twist, but none of them felt cheap. None of them felt cheap. I really, really liked this, and that is why I immediately looked for another book from her, and that was when I found The Game You Played. And with The Game You Played, this one we are following a mother named Phoebe who lost her son in the park. He was kidnapped when she turned her back for a brief second, and she is struggling with depression and lack of sleep. She gets prescribed a sleep medication that causes sleepwalking episodes. The name of the medication is not stated in the book, so I'm not sure what it is supposed to be, but she begins sleepwalking and having visions of her son and believes he is trying to tell her what happened to him. So she begins to abuse the medication so she can see him more because she's trying to figure out what happened to him. It was a interesting way of looking at it because it's like she is unreliable because of this, but at the same time, she's the only one that has a clue about what's going on. And these letters start showing up that are like kind of taunting the family about the little boy. It's very, very interesting the way that it's told. Like, the characters are so well-rounded and so well-developed. She does the unreliable narrator trope very, very well on both of these books. And the atmosphere, like, you just feel like you're there. You feel like you're there experiencing that. And you all know how much I enjoy that. All right, now on to the physical books. Hello, bookworms. Do you like a steamy read? If so, then I have a treat for you. Do you like beasts, magical kingdoms, and witches? If so, then I have a treat for you. Dawn to Dusk by Kat Bethel will be launching on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited on February 10th. This is a story of a Mesre who is stuck in a world that for hundreds of years has raged between the faction of beasts and the council of mages. Once the most lethal and valuable asset under the council's banner, Mesre has decided that she will no longer be fighting for a cause that she does not believe in, and wanted for treason, she flees to the faction and is now protecting the beasts that she had previously terrorized. This is a fun, descriptive, immersive, steamy, wild ride that I could not put down. And it's written by my baby sister, but I promise I'm not at all biased. We hope that you will join us for Dawn to Dusk, which is now available for pre-order on Kindle Unlimited. I will have all of the links in the description down below for you, and hopefully you will join us on this journey. The first physical book that I read this month was The Gunslinger by Stephen King. This is the first book in the Dark Tower series, and I've been excited to get to this for a while, and I was so happy I did because I really, really enjoyed it, and Interestingly enough, everybody says that this is the weakest book in the series, so I'm really expecting a wild ride with the rest of them. In this, we are following Roland, our gunslinger, and he is on a quest to find the Man in Black on a journey to the tower. This is more about his background than why he's actually on the journey. So that's to come, but it was very, very intriguing. I liked getting his head, finding out his backstory, and the end of this kind of left me with I don't know if he is a villain or a protagonist at this point. And the way that it was written, I kind of like it. I kind of like not knowing if our main character is a good guy or a bad guy. Because it's like he did things that I totally did not agree with, but then at the same time, he did do things that I did agree with. So I'm like, is he a villain or is he just a flawed person, but he's not actually a bad person? I like the mystery of that. And I don't know, I don't think that can be sustained throughout the entire series. I just don't. But I liked it for the first book because it brought an air of mystery to it and it really kept me intrigued to keep reading. Okay, the next book that I read this month is one that I did not like. I didn't like this at all, and I was very disappointed in it. That is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I am sorry, you guys. I know that a lot of people love this, but not me. I didn't like this at all. It had good points in it. You know, it's like, the characters were very well written. They were extremely unlikable to the point that it was annoying, but they were well written. Their backstories were well fleshed out. So it's like, I would say that's a positive. And I didn't mind the villain choice in this. I thought it made sense and it was kind of an interesting twist. Beyond that, though, I didn't care for this. The characters, particularly our main character, who we are following basically the entire time, Jessica, is just so horrible. Everybody's so horrible to each other. Everybody's stabbing each other in the back. You know, everybody is just doing nasty stuff to each other. And at the end of the day, I didn't feel like any character was redeemable. You know, because it's like every time you start to think that somebody's okay or that they are doing something good, then they turn around and do something that's like ridiculously awful. So I'm like, I didn't care for anybody in this. I didn't have one character that I could get behind and I could root for. Except for possibly Heather, which is the girl that died and what this whole mystery is based around. So I'm just kind of trying my hardest to be understanding and figure out like why this is so well loved, why this is as hyped as it is, because I definitely did not think it was worth the hype. Like I said, the characters are well-rounded and well fleshed out, and the writing style is pretty. Like, I think Ashley Winstead has pretty prose. I think that she's very good at writing. It's just that the story itself felt kind of weak. It didn't feel like it was doing anything new. I feel like I've read this exact same story 100 times before, but with better characters. And I think I would like something else by her more. So I think I'm going to try out something different, but because this definitely wasn't the one for me. I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling this one. So I'm kind of disappointed. The next book that I read this month was The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina, and I loved this one. This is a story following Anne and Marco, who went next door to a dinner party, leaving their 6-month-old baby alone in the house, and when they come home from the party, she is gone. This was a pretty standard kidnapping investigation. It was pretty straightforward. It was a quick, easy read, and it kind of had like beachy vibes despite being a thriller. Like, I know it sounds contradictory, but that's the best way I can describe it, because it was just so easy to fly through, and it was quick and it was easy. It wasn't super complex. It did have some twists right at the very end. but they made sense to the story. But like for the most part, it was just pretty straightforward. We're just seeing the events as they unfold. And I liked seeing the way that it was carried out. So despite the fact that this wasn't necessarily a new thing, the way that it was told was just very engaging, and it was very easy to get into the characters on this one. I really, really enjoyed it so much. And I think this is the best Sherry Lapena that I have read so far. I've kind of been 0 for 0 for her. Like, it's like I'll read one and I'll like it, and then I'll read one and I won't, and vice versa. Like, I don't dislike her enough to stop reading her, but I hadn't, up until this point, I never found anything that really blew me away, but this one did. I really, really liked this one, and I hope she has more that are on this level. And last but not least, we have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. I really, really enjoyed this. I've never read Stacy Willingham before, so that is a bonus. In this, we follow Chloe, who is a psychologist, and when she was 12 years old, 20 years before, her father confessed to killing 6 girls in their area who went missing, and now, 20 years later, murders have started back up in a very similar way, but Daddy is still in prison. And it feels like all of these disappearances and murders are in some way linked to her, and she feels like somebody's messing with her, so she's trying to figure out what is going on. This was very engaging. It was very descriptive, atmospheric. The characters were well-rounded. I really, really liked Chloe's character in particular. She was extremely flawed and extremely broken, really struggling with the trauma of her past, but still very likable. All in all, I gave this book a 5-star. I enjoyed it very, very much. Highly recommend that you pick it up. I think so far, this is my favorite of the year. I know that it's just January. So there's a lot of room for change. But as of right now, this one is my favorite of the year. I absolutely loved it. Okay, so that is all that I have for you guys today. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, follow me on the social medias. Click that bell if you want to be notified of all of my upcoming videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.